Now, Mick and June King, you're involved heavily in the old horse show long ago. How did it come about in the beginning?
Well, it came about, Don McBride got us involved in the year that we're starting up the show. Lord Sligo gave offered, I don't know how that came about because it was kind of organised before we got involved, offered the grounds, the lawn of Westport House to run a show, and Jack McGreevy and Micheál O'Donnell and Hugh Ryan and Donny, I think were the founding members. I'm sure I left somebody out.
I can remember what year it was.
67.
67, yeah.
And Donny asked us to get involved, which we did. And then a whole committee came together, very diverse, and that's how it started.
That's how it started. I suppose, Mick, they got you involved because you were a vet, was it? Or were you involved?
Not really. I kind of followed suit. Hugh was there, and we all became general members, you know, like really all of the country and the town were very much involved together. So there was a great integration, really, of workers who were all voluntary, and they came together and used to had a meeting when you're building up towards the show and providing stables, and all of the town became very much involved. And they were great. They were sponsors as well. Like, we collected money, we got money from them, but they were very much involved in a good way, a very good integration of people in the town. Liked the show in Westport, and very much so, and backed it when sponsorship faded a little bit with Alligans and things like that. They all backed it, but the bigger sponsorship then was difficult. We had originally Player Wills and all those old firms that were beginning to pull away from sponsorship, and that's happened too.
And were there people who weren't interested in horses involved in it now?
Oh yeah.
Or there were most people who had an interest in horses, no?
But there were, people gave, all the houses on the Mall now, for instance, had stables, and they all opened. Anyone that had a shed or a stable kind of allowed horses to be stabled.
That's right, because we were kind of short of that. Hard to get good quality
we had no
stables,
basically, and people came to the show. It kind of followed on. The fishing festival was the first festival, I think, or one of the first in Westport, and I think then the horse show kind of followed on.
The committee in the town, got involved first and wanted to promote the tourism a bit to extend the season, and there was Jack McGreevy and a few others who were involved in the urban furthering the tourism.
Okay, right.
And trying to encourage further activity in Westport.
This
was the idea, and they came together and they asked Donny and June and all those to become involved with promoting of a horse show.
But they probably saw the success of the fishing
festival.
Well, I think that's it, and as Mick said, they wanted to extend or come up with something else to
improve the tourism product, as they call it nowadays. Yeah.
Which it did. The show brought people from the north that had never been down here before.
And the troubles were around at the time as well, you know.
And was Lord Sligo himself involved in it now, or he just gave it the...
No, he died...
He died around that time, did he?
He did, yeah. And Altamont, Lord Altamont...
A bit later doing that, he was there for a year.
Well, he wasn't involved, really.
He wasn't, no.
Not directly involved,
he was more promotional than Lord Altamont.
He facilitated it for you anyway, he did,
Yeah.
And was it a big job organising it then, it was?
Oh, it was.
It was a huge job, yeah, because... well, there were all the meetings and all that goes before it, and for about 3 months beforehand. And the railway was the hub. That's where all the meetings were with John Jeffers, and then later on Nicky Kavanagh facilitated us, and well, the Rosencrantzes weren't there very long now.
But both of you had posts in it, in the committee at times, eh?
Well, I wasn't involved until Hugh
Ryan
hadn't good health at the time. I think he just retired as...
no, he died.
Yeah, and then he died after that. But like, I took over as chairman then for a year or two.
How long did you do that for? Do you know? Can you remember?
Well, about 3 years.
3 years there, yeah.
And then Sean Stanton, of course, was a big operator, and Sean was very influential now in organising and promoting the show. And you know, he was a great secretary. What was he?
Well,
When he
Sean
became chairman
started
eventually,
off, I was treasurer in the beginning with Tommy Nolan, and then Sean became chairman, and I became secretary.
And how long did you do that for?
All the time here.
You couldn't get out, I suppose, is it?
Yeah, that's right.
I enjoyed it too.
Well, she was doing the secretary all the time, and you wrote the minutes and all the rest of the stuff.
Donny McBride was PRO, was he, yeah?
He was.
All the time, more or less.
Well, more or less all the time, because he was
very
always
involved.
involved. He was great promotion. You know, a great promoter, like, because he was involved going to horse shows, judging in horse shows and all that kind of thing. So he was great in that, great form to go to shows and make the contacts. And then the northern people started to come down to our shows and bring their good horses. And the troubles were on, and that didn't affect them whatever. Well, not really.
And a lot of them had never been
That was it.
south of the border before.
And so
And they were happy enough down here. They had no issues or
great
problems or
time.
whatever, yeah.
So we always get a personality to promote our show or to present prizes, and I got a hold of when I was chairman. I got a hold of what's his name?
Robert Shaw.
Robert Shaw. Oh, okay.
And Robert Shaw came along to the horse show, and but anyhow, Robert presented the prizes and said he'd ride the horse like he did in the film, you know.
Or that he's Robert Shaw of Jaws fame.
Jaws fame.
Jaws. And what time of the year would you hold it?
Oh yeah,
The beginning of June.
Beginning of June.
Yeah, we started off midweek,
Yeah.
and then we started off one day, and then we went to 2 days, and then we moved to a weekend.
And who would you get to participate in it now? Yeah. So Eddie Mackin and
Eddie Mackin and Tommy Wade and Seamus Hayes and Iris Kellett and
they were all household names that time, weren't they?
They were.
They were.
Oh, they were all big names that time, yeah.
And had you to pay them a fee?
Oh no,
Oh, they came down free.
The jump for
prize-
They came for the prize money, okay, yeah.
prize money.
And what was the money like that time, the first prize? Now,
Well,
can
it
you
was
remember?
good, around 3,000, I think. Would have
Oh,
been
well, that
down.
was distributed all throughout, yeah.
You know, as it went at the time, the prize money was very good.
Very good, very attractive, yeah.
And
Very.
the army,
The army were
Johnny
coming
got
down
the
as well.
army jumping team.
Ringrose was in charge of the army that they have to keep.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was very put out at having to come to a little show, as he thought, like Westport. But he ended up anyway being impressed and enjoying
Well,
his
the
trip.
big thing that our horse show got big promotion with television and so forth, you know, and it was recorded, and all the prize winners and all the good riders. What is the other? The lads from Sligo, which were named it for me. You know.
Francie Kieran's and there were loads of
And
them.
the other
you know, all
one,
the-
the other one, his father used to come down, the doctor, what's his name?
Dara.
Paul Dara.
Paul Dara, yeah.
And Dr. Dara used to judge.
No,
and,
they're all this. So it was a very important show. Like we got great publicity and great sponsorship as far as it went, and then the town backed us very well, and they always came down. You know, no matter.
I was going to say, were there big attendances at it now?
Oh, huge.
Big attendance,
Yeah.
And any of the figures at it?
Oh,
I was at it myself a few times now, it was packed.
yeah,
It was packed, yeah.
it was. I don't think we ever kept a tally,
Right.
but the Sunday now, and if it was a nice Sunday, and we had a few nice ones, but a few not so nice weekends.
I can remember the ones, they all seemed to be fine, the ones I was at. It seemed to be sunny, you know.
Yeah.
It was a great family day, wasn't it?
It
Oh,
was.
great
Yeah.
family day,
Yeah.
because the people of Westport, mind you, were very good to us. They always supported it, and they always came, and they missed it when it did go, you know, because like it was kind of inevitable. Support from the sponsorship side, and as I say, the major figures went to God, and horse shows began to drop away with television too. It wasn't as popular in television in the end of the day.
And of course the setting was fantastic, wasn't
The
it?
setting was
setting
fantastic, and the
was Westport.
cooperation, there was great. There were a lot of country people that were involved, and they were great. And
But
and
then
the town people, you know, people that mightn't have known one end of a horse from another, But they really supported the show.
Well, it was a
and-
family.
Who were the big horsey people around here at the time? Like Mick Regan now, was he in it? Mick
Oh
Regan,
yeah,
Mick
yeah,
Regan.
Mick and all those,
Yeah,
yeah.
oh,
And Gallagher from down below.
All
I
those
remember.
people
Oh,
were.
they were all involved.
Yeah.
And Lewisburg used to come in. Well, Lewisburg have their own little show all the time.
They have their own, they have
The
their own.
Malloys came, and they were very involved. You know, Pat and Arthur.
Arthur Malloy, yeah.
Malloy.
And all of the Lewisburg people who were involved in horses. They were fond of horses too, a lot of
And
them.
can you remember any of the Lewisburg people's names?
Names there,
Well, you
Mark
see, they
Joe
started
too.
their
Mark
own
Joe,
show,
yeah.
and then there was a little bit of.
And Mark Joe was there always. Poor
Well,
fella.
he was the one that was
Yeah.
active in starting the Lewisburg show, I think.
I know.
He was a senator, Martin Joe,
We
wasn't he?
used to loan them,
Or two, yeah.
some of our jumps and things like that.
Yeah. So they set up their own show then?
Yeah.
And
They're-
they
they're in
always
competition
Well,
then?
in conjunction, what?
Were they in competition with you? Not really, were they?
Ah,
Not really,
well,
no,
no.
they
We used to
were-
loan them jumps. We used to cooperate with them too. But like, we had to get our own jumps set up and all the rest of it. But we used to give the loan of jumps to themselves, like sometimes, and get back again and all that. But like, there were lots of good few horsey people in Lewisburg who would come to the show. But they always had a little show. You know, those small places used to have their own show as well. You know. But like.
Would you have children's events at it now and that?
Have which?
Children's jumping and...
Oh, we would.
Oh yeah,
that's
we'd
it,
have
yeah,
all
yeah.
the various
Well, we'd have
competitions.
classes, you know, the showing in hand classes and the riding classes on the Saturday usually.
Mhm.
And then the jumping, mostly on the Sunday. There weren't many classes on the Sunday.
And was there good social activity around it at the time?
Oh yeah, great.
Were you all in the beer?
Well,
Well, and there'd be a bit of crack with the boss man there.
but there used to be pre-show reception on is it the Friday night? I'm a bit vague about that. You know, when all the sponsors and everything would be entertained to a
And
lesser
what do you call
while.
it was being built
And
at
then
the
there was
time.
the pre-show parade as well.
We
had
used to have
been
the
made
dances. Belclair then started up doing that.
to promote the show. And Paddy Joe still tells the story about bringing Pamela Mant. Do you remember her?
Pamela who?
He wouldn't remember.
She was in one of the very first soap operas on RTE. She came down anyhow.
Talcaror and these things? No,
No, it wasn't Alcohol. No, I can't think of the name for it. But she came down to promote the show,
Yeah, okay.
and with the pre-show parade, you know.
But the Campbells used to come in catering then, you know.
Oh, they were big.
They
Yeah,
used to come in and help us.
Rosary.
And so also, when Belclair started up then, and we used to have the dances in Belclair, you know.
John Healy's place.
John Healy's place, and John was involved with bass, you know, and I catered the bass and so forth, you know.
And would they be functions to fundraise, is it?
Yeah.
Or
Well, the show
Oh, yeah.
dance.
you'd have a show dance?
Yeah.
Sure that.
During the show or later on?
No.
Oh no, just that. Well,
I'm not quite sure when it was.
well,
but no.
what was the show dance? I
It was
forget
a
where
separate
exactly was
day.
placed. That Sunday night, I think we had a show dance.
I know it wasn't.
Was it not? No.
No one was fit for it that night.
All right.
So when did it finish?
Well, Tom Durkin then.
Was it? Was it
Bo
89?
Durkin was took over as chairmanship at the last part of the chairman, and Paddy Joe. You see, at that stage, the sort of idea was that like the show we weren't, you know, as I see, we saw the future really was not the aging public. They were all voluntary, and they were beginning to feel, you know, you were finding it hard. These were the hard times as well, you know, where the economics were starting to begin to fall down, and the sponsorship was hard to get.
I think it was 89.
89, yeah.
Finished, yeah.
And was there much discussion about winding it up or finishing it, or did it just happen kind of quickly? Or?
Well, no, not
Well,
really.
the insurance was taking a big leap, and there were problems.
What insurance?
I
The
think
insurance for
Altamont
Sligo was
was having his own plans, and you know, all these things were kind of coming, and the sponsorship was drying up, and the whole thing was changing. So no, there wasn't.
Just-
It was,
well,
And then did Paddy Joe take it over straight away, or was there a gap of a year or two or anything like
I
that?
don't think there was a gap.
no, I don't
No,
think
he
so.
went straight
had
at it,
his own
yeah.
local show, you know,
Yeah,
like, and he started. I
On
mean,
a small, he started.
he
on a
started
small
building his school, you know, his riding school and all that, and that was ongoing. And he had a lot of stables, built up a lot of stables when
Oh, he has a great show up there, isn't he? Yes.
He has
Yeah,
a good
yeah,
view,
he's a good
and he was
But
very.
it's his business.
Well,
isn't
it's a
it?
business,
He
yeah.
did very well to build up all the scenario, you know.
Yeah.
And Paddy Joe was still involved in going in going to shows, and he had stallions at the time and that kind of thing as well.
Oh yeah, and he was a great worker, you know, for our show.
In the show,
too,
yeah.
all
Well, he's a
over
great
the
worker at
place.
everything he does, isn't he?
Oh,
Yeah.
he does.
Yeah.
He's very involved, you know. He's good like that, yeah.
So this is the 50th anniversary this year, then, is it?
Yeah.
Since the foundation
That's
of the first show.
Of the first show.
Between
Yeah.
your show and Paddy Joe's show,
Yeah.
which he was a continuation.
Oh, that
of it.
continued on. Yeah.
So 50 pounds a good history, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
good, very good. I mean, it lasted an awful long time, a voluntary show that was about, and as I say, nowadays they're beginning to think, you see, that like, the horse show people are trying to even get amalgamation of shows so that they would get
Yeah.
bigger,
More economic to run.
more economic and more running and promotion and so forth. So like, it's shows have kind of generally faded away a bit,
Yeah, yeah.
except the bigger ones. You
But
know.
the actual
Well, you don't get
horse shows,
it's hard to get the big guys down now, is it?
Oh, they don't.
You wouldn't
count.
count.
They don't come down.
It's all changed,
But
really,
now
isn't it?
it's more cattle and sheep and well, the horses. You know, the horses are there, but you don't have the show jumping.
You don't have the show jumping, yeah.
You know,
Generally,
the shows
in
nowadays.
around the country, yeah.
Oh, well,
It's more agricultural shows.
you had Tullamore, the biggest show, one of the biggest agricultural shows in the country. They had packed, they had a few bad years weather-wise, but they have had a very big show, but that's a big agricultural show.
And are they jumping as well, are they?
Huh?
Well,
Do they
on a
jump?
smaller scale, but
Oh, they would have jumping there too, I'm sure. But like,
I'm sure they do. But
they're a very big show.
I was there once. It was mostly machinery and cattle and horses and crafts. They have a big craft thing down there as well, you know.
Yeah, yeah. You see,
You didn't have any of that stuff, like you didn't have any vegetables and fruit and crafts and all that.
no, we never.
Pure
went
horses.
to
Well,
that.
no.
Pure horse jumping. Yours was a horse jumping show,
Yeah.
really. Okay.
And classes, you know,
Yeah, classes, yeah.
Showing
and
classes.
riding,
Okay.
the riding classes. Yeah,
So you had good days.
they were great days.
Great days.
They were great days, all
Great
great
days,
fun days, yeah. All they were.
And were you sad to see it go? What you were,
Great
yeah.
camaraderie,
Oh, it was.
yeah. Very
But-
sad. Yeah.
But like everything is changing. I mean, all things change, and the big
Oh, everything
movements,
changes, yeah.
Take place.
Who were the chairpersons of the horse show in your time?
Hugh Ryan, was Mick King, Ger Hogan, Sean Stanton, Tom Durkin.
So there were 5.
Yes, Father Greeley was
Yeah.
our first president, and he was there as president until he was transferred. And then Father Tony King took over, and he was there
Until the end.
until the end.
Not the end,
Yeah.
And who were the secretaries?
Secretaries were
Sean Stanton and myself.
2 secretaries in the whole duration there. Well, that's the usual with a secretary's job. It's hard to get out of it.
hard to get out.
The ladies' committee? Or was
No,
it?
no,
just
there wasn't. They just came and helped on the days of the show. Mostly the wives of the workers. And they were great. Bridie McManaman and Josie O'Donnell and loads of other, you know, they were great stalwarts.
would they make tea or were they...
They would.
Was
They
there-
looked at, well,
Was there food available under the show now?
Bill Campbell did the catering.
Okay.